The Entrepreneur MBA podcast purpose is to help existing business owners grow their companies past the 10 million in revenue per year benchmark. Here is your host, Stephen Halasnik.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Halasnik, and I'm co-founder of Financing Solutions. Financing Solutions provides very easy to set up lines of credit for small businesses, and I will be your host for today's Entrepreneur MBA podcast. If you're interested in learning more about the line of credit, please visit fscreditline.com. That's FS as in Financing Solutions, creditline.com. Over the last 25 years, I personally have built 6 companies in the $5 million to $25 million range, including 2 companies that have made the Inc. 500 fastest growing companies in the United States. I love learning from people with business experience. And today, I'm very excited to be speaking with Howard Wolpoff from Profit Master Business Solutions. Howard is the Chief Marketing Strategist of Profit Master Business Solutions and a marketing executive with over 25 years of experience helping hundreds of businesses create profitable solutions to drive sales, attract and maintain customers, and build a solid corporate brand. Howard, welcome to today's Entrepreneur MBA podcast.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it.
So today's topic, it's always been, this is my 5th year of doing the Entrepreneur MBA podcast. I don't have to count them up. Maybe it's my 450th episode. That sounds like a lot, but yeah. Today we're going to be talking about measurable marketing, the key to business growth, and I can't think of it today. It's January 3rd of 2023. We just all went through New Year's. I can't think of let me say from a business standpoint, I can't think of a better New Year's resolution than for a business owner to say is we're going to be better at measuring our effectiveness of our marketing so that we can really drive our business growth. What would you say about that?
Well, I would definitely agree. If you're not doing it already, it is a great New Year's resolution for your business because there's so much that goes into marketing. And let's take the fact that a lot of business owners aren't marketing specialists to begin with. So they're really trying to find the answers while trying with one hand and trying to do the work of the business with the other. But having something and understanding what is working, what is resonating, what is you're getting a response from, as opposed to the general visual of throwing the spaghetti up in the wall and seeing what sticks is so important to make sure this is a successful year. We're coming out of 3 really crazy years, and this year really needs to get off on the right track to really make sure that business is flowing and continually.
Yeah, and I would add 2 things to it too. The title of today's podcast is about marketing measurements for business growth, but marketing measurements also greatly affect the bottom line. So when you think of growth, I think most of us think about revenue, sales, right? But having effective marketing also, allows you measurable marketing to spend money wisely, doesn't it? I
think it really helps with the budgeting. There's a consistency to what you're doing. So you're not going to have, okay, I have this, let's throw money at this great idea. And sometimes you can do that, but if you plan for it and if you know what you're doing, if you know what your structure is, if you're expanded into media, and having a media buy that's done now, so you know what you're spending in March, what you're spending in June. There's a big pickup in September because your focus is men in football and football season starting. So there's more people paying attention to their teams as opposed to where there's only a few in December, January. You have a balance of where your dollars are going and you're spending wisely. But you really, in everything you're doing, you want to make sure that everything is being done efficiently. Every spend is being done, that you're getting something for every effort that you're doing and tracking these pieces to make sure that it works.
Yeah, and I'll let our listeners know, I would never in a million years do a marketing campaign without knowing exactly how it's going to be measured. Having a system and process to be able to identify what did it cost for us to acquire a client, how much money do we make of that client, what did it cost for the marketing campaign? And at the end of the trial period, was that effective. And then lastly, I'll add is I'm always trying different marketing campaigns to see, how I can get something that's being very, very effective. And that's the key to business growth. If you can't figure out how to be successful at marketing, you're just not going to, you're just not going to get past that 10 million, which is the purpose of this podcast. What would you add to that?
Well, I'd add a few things. For one, I would agree with it. Let's start there. And
Okay.
then, with that said, you have to be, if you're in a situation where your marketing is structured and you're getting success from what you're doing, coming into the next quarter, the next year, say, okay, we're going to test this. We're going to take this out and test that. I had a company I used to work with that did a lot of postcard marketing. They were a HVAC company in Houston, Texas, and they had something for seasonal checkups for your systems. One for one coming into the winter, and one coming into the spring. And they had these postcards they use every year, but they wouldn't track who was using it. They knew there was success because dollars and revenue were hitting in those 2 periods of time, and they were busy, and that was their measurement of success. But they didn't measure who used the coupon for the discount. And so when doing that, one, you know who your regulars are, but you also know who you're not responding to. So what if, and I proposed to them at a certain point, what if you spend the time to do that, take the people you're not getting a response from and test something else with them and see whether there's something else that will resonate as opposed to the postcard, because you have this massive list, you want to take advantage of it. So in the testing part, I absolutely agree. But it's also, you have to understand, I guess, reality with all of your marketing. And there's something called the SMART methodology, which is specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timed. And utilizing this really makes your marketing more realistic. So if you have a big promotion you want to hit from February on, and I say the best thing I can do is put a commercial in the Super Bowl, that might really work. But if you're not a $10 million business, you're not a $1 million business, there's no way you're going to have a commercial in the Super Bowl, because they start at $5 million for 30 seconds. So it's not realistic to say Super Bowl commercial is my answer for the success of my business. And a lot of the whole methodology has to be realistic with how you're approaching things to get the results you're looking for.
Yeah, I'll have to tell my listeners, you're going to hear some buzzing in the background, some work being done. So unfortunately, that's not going to be too bad. But, I tell you, one of the things I learned maybe 15, 20 years into my entrepreneurship career, and that is it's so easy. You mentioned the acronym SMART. And if I was as my listeners should think about getting that, go to the internet, type in SMART, get the acronym, put it somewhere that's near your desk. And the reason why I say that, and Howard, I'm glad you kind of brought that up. It's just so easy for entrepreneurs to come up with a million ideas, and it's really not helpful. It's just not helpful. It's the way a business grows is you typically come up with an idea of what you want to do, and you try it, and if it works, you'll know, because sales go up. You can kind of measure it, but once you find something that works, you have to keep doing it. You just have to keep executing, and execution is not the exciting part of entrepreneurship. I mean, I love it because I'm making money and that's what I want to do. But the reason why I talk about SMART as an example is I think you can use SMART as the core principle of your everyday business and just keep executing on that. And I think marketing is a perfect example of how to use the SMART acronym that Howard just talked about. Have you found that? I mean, you're a coach. Have you found that same type of idea that I'm saying, that it's just that entrepreneurs, and this is not a leading question, by the way, I want to know the real answer. Do you find that entrepreneurs do a bad job of staying focused on just one thing?
Well, to that respect, yes. because I think that there's a lot of energy in the mind of an entrepreneur, and you always want to find with success. Well, okay, maybe this will be a bigger success. Maybe this is the next big idea. And it's sometimes you don't see the ideas through, and they might be, but you've jumped to the next idea you don't know. So again, everything starts with coming up with a strategy, coming up with a plan. So brainstorming could be part of that plan, and then you kind of put these ideas, you list them. I'm always a very big proponent of putting those big pieces of paper on the wall and writing lists and getting ideas, breaking the ideas down. So you build from the first thought and then come the big idea at the end, or having a whiteboard with things that you have on it. So they're always there, but you have to find the right times to do that, or bring in the right people to help you cultivate it. But it all comes down to, people were not taught how to be an entrepreneur or a small business owner. When you go to college, you're taught how to be an employee and skills to be a very good employee in whatever industry you're doing your studies on. There are very few schools, and it is growing. I don't want to say there are none, but there's very few schools that really are teaching these things. I have a niece right now who goes to Florida State University. She's a marketing major. She tells me she's taking there's a focus in being a salesperson, which I think is phenomenal, because everyone needs to learn how to be a salesperson. There's so many different techniques that is necessary in marketing, in finance, in whatever you're doing, that sales is a part of it, because you always have to have that sales head on to bring in the business. But they didn't get trained for these things, and now you're trying to be, I always use plumbers as my example. You're trying to run your plumbing business, but you're also having to market to get new business in, and you have to be the human resources person. You also have to be the bookkeeper while you're growing before you can hire people. That's a lot. That's why people don't sleep, because your head's going to explode from all these things. But having something planned and measured and a strategy of how you're going to approach each things, because each of the SMART methodology names have a concept that goes along with it. And like, I write them down because my short-term memory doesn't work the way they used to. So again, these are all very, very important. So am I able to go through them? Is that be okay?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So SMART methodology, again, each first letter stands for something specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timed. So specific, you want to increase your brand awareness. And that is a very big concept, but it's too big. It's too broad. So if you say, okay, I want to increase my fans people following me on Facebook 10% each month, that's something specific, and that is goal oriented and can get you growth larger and larger, whether it's something else. But you've made a specific goal for January, what you're going to do, and then try to duplicate it in February, and so on and so forth. Measurable, again, you in addition to having to be specific, you want to measure what you're doing. So again, something to do with concept in SEO. If you have a blog, having a blog is not measurable, but you can see what kind of comments and number of subscribers or page views, or you're putting out video content on TikTok, how many likes you're getting, how many people are following you, how many people are watching it. Those things are measurable, so that you know what could be working, what could not be working. And that's translated also into different marketing strategies for sales and bringing in new clients that you're doing. Something that's actionable is you want to increase your blog readership by 5% each month. So now to do that, you need to have actions to do that. So, okay, I'm going to write 3 blog posts each month to each week to do that. So giving more content. I'm going to create more 3 videos a day for TikTok. Again, blogs between video, you have to increment that a little bit more. And so now these are actionable things that you're doing, so that you can get that reasonable response that you're looking for. Being realistic is the example I gave about the Super Bowl. You don't have the budget for the Super Bowl, you can't do it. You don't have budget for TV, you can't do that. But you may be able to create a video and buy ads on Facebook and run those videos there. That might be more realistic for you, and do something around the Super Bowl period. Focus on people who are football fans. That could work for you. And then something that's times, you have to make sure that you're reaching them at the right time that you want, and the right time that they are looking for information. So For example, with social media, there are studies that show when's the best time to post on Facebook, when's the best time to post on LinkedIn. These are key components to making sure that people are absorbing the information that you have. So this is all basic concept. From that concept, you create a marketing plan, a management plan that goes along with it that can be implemented so you can see results of what you're doing. And again, not just throwing spaghetti up against the wall and seeing what sticks.
As a business coach, is that one of the main themes that you work with your clients on, keeping them focused on SMART? Or no?
Well, I think that one of the main things is keeping them focused. First and foremost, you want to keep focused on yourself, on your business, and the tasks at hand. When it now comes to, okay, we're creating a marketing plan. So whether that includes video, social media in different ways, blogging, commercials, going to events, networking events, having a structure of how you're selling and how you're communicating, and everything needs that type of structure to it. So yes, using the SMART methodology for all of it. Again, anything you're doing has to be realistic because you don't have the time to waste. You can look back and realize 3 years have gone by and the needle hasn't moved because you've been doing so many different things all over the place and haven't just stuck to 2-3 core pieces that were working for you and you just didn't spend the right time on them.
I never asked this question of any guest because I just made the assumption that it was true. But if you were to speak to 10 people who want to maybe bring you on as a coach, as a consultant, and they're all entrepreneurs, out of those 10, what number of them really focus a lot of work on marketing?
It varies on the 10 based on different experiences. The answer is they all have some level of focus on marketing.
They do.
And they have to, and they know they have to. And some of them will feel that they're a marketing expert already because of things they've done. And some will understand that they're a novice. And some will understand that they're absolutely clueless when it comes to it. And that's okay. That's not an embarrassing thing to be because you have marketing executives out there who've put out multi-million-dollar campaigns because this is going to move the needle, and it didn't move the needle. Why didn't move the needle? The things changed within the avatar that they were trying to reach, and so that message didn't mean the same thing to them that it did 6 months, a year before. Trends can go very fast, and if you're jumping on a trend at the end, you're going to lose out. Marketing is fluid. People were not marketing their businesses on TikTok 3 years ago. And now it's a real great way to market your business. It's not just dance videos, although there's a lot of Wednesday dances that you'll see right now on there. But there are a lot of companies talking honestly to people and getting a response from it. So it's people are utilizing marketing in different ways, but it's all about making sure that you're doing it the right way, that not just for you, but really is who is your audience and where are they and what do they and how do they want to be spoken to? That's the success of marketing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I have learned over the years is that if I would be able to tell how good somebody is as an entrepreneur if they had an answer to this question, and that is, what does it cost for you to acquire your clients, and how much do you make off of each one of them on average? Because if somebody can answer those questions, to me, they have really put the effort into marketing. And I've just said this past podcast, this is obvious. You could have the best product in the world. If nobody can find you and no one knows how to get to you, you're just not going to be very successful. But you could really have an inferior product that's not as good as a lot of people's out there. But if you have great marketing, you can still have a very, very successful business. And, a lot of small businesses, they tend to grow because they think it's about word of mouth, right? Oh, if I do a great job, other people are going to tell about me. It depends on the business. Like a plumber, yes, right? Maybe. But other businesses just don't work that way. So like I literally spend 90% of my time on marketing. that's where my effort goes into, how to have really successful. Now, over the years, we have our systems down. We really know what works. And so I don't have to work as much on it. But, from your experience, how can you get somebody who's not very good at marketing to become good at it?
Well, first and foremost, if someone understands their cost of acquisition and what kind of revenue they can get per each customer, they definitely have a
Yeah.
phenomenal understanding of what they're doing. Either they figure it out or someone taught them the right way, because then you just keep this plug and play, and you want to get to that point, and then you want to make adjustments. You want to spend less and make more. Those adjustments on there, but that's a threshold that people should really strive to be at. Those that are not there and have to figure it out, and I think that there's a come to reality moment that everyone has to have. And you can be 100-mile-an-hour person with your thoughts and your activities and everything, but if no one is responding to it, then you have to look in the mirror and say, I need help. I need someone to really get me there, and I'm not doing it myself. I can't figure it out. And that's not a fault. That's not a and it's something to think negatively about yourself, or people think negatively of you. It's a reality, and in business, you just have to say, okay, this is reality. How do I fix it? How do I get it moving? The concept of hoping that word of mouth will works for a lot of businesses. There are some businesses that don't need to spend any money because they figure it out, whether it's based on their personality, whether it's worse on their product and understanding customer service. There are people with monumental lists of people who've given them reviews on Google that they don't have to do anything. All of a sudden, people do a search. They just pop up number one on Google because of that, and people book them. I had a situation where, let's put a statement in the situation. Other people have to figure out ways to create business if that's not going to work. I have a home warranty company, and they send in a company that does the bare minimum of work to fix things. And I've had problems with them in the past, and I haven't enjoyed the experience in the past. And sometimes they've done okay. With that, they individually, when you go to Google, they have, I think that 1.3 is their number. The reviews are horrendous on them, and they don't care because they're getting their money. They figure it out. It doesn't matter what people think. We have this relationship with not one, but a couple of home warranty companies. We're the go-to person, and business is going to flow. Are we going to make the amount per customer that we would if it was individual? No, but the phone's ringing because of that, and it doesn't matter. You have other companies who do amazing work on and in creating programs and thanking people for the giving a referral, and that leads to more referrals. And if you're able, like, my favorite term in marketing is customer evangelist. If you can figure out how to create a customer evangelist, you don't have to spend any money on marketing. And they're the ones that not just love your business, love what you did for them. They love your business, they love you, and they love telling people all about you. I think the biggest corporate company I can say is Chick-fil-A. People just love Chick-fil-A, and they love talking about their experiences at Chick-fil-A, and that's what helped Chick-fil-A grow. It wasn't just the cows on the outfield signs and foul pole signs in baseball stadiums. It really the customer evangelists who just love them and talk about them. So there are different routes to get to success, but but all of it is with self-analysis, whether it's you or the company, of what's working, what's not working, and how can I get it that the people who I'm trying to reach want to respond.
Yeah, and I didn't want to, lead anybody to say that acquiring clients through customer referrals is not a bad marketing strategy, but also having a marketing strategy that's proactive and getting your existing clients to refer other people is a very powerful
It's huge.
marketing strategy, right? In fact, you can just kind of do that. But and I use the word proactive as, not leaving it up to your customer to refer people haphazardly. You have a referral plan in place. You talk about it with your existing clients. You go to them and you say, when they finish, they say, is there anybody else that you know that might be able to use our services? And, following through on all that, having an easy way to give referrals on your website when you interact with your clients. So when you do your surveys, you ask that question, or do you do surveys? Having a phone, a person get on a phone, asking, working the system, all these different things. I'm sure everybody understands what I'm talking about. So that is a very powerful, depending on what you do, what you sell, and what business you're in. What, what, out of your experience, what has been the number one most way that people are generating leads nowadays?
I think I'll tie it all together in relationship, and relationship happens in a number of ways. First, again, it's acknowledging that it's about them. It's about your prospect, not about me. When it comes to the website, there's so many businesses out there whose websites are just digital brochures about themselves. I am the best plumber. I do great things. Look at the success of what I've done for other people. It's not how can my skill set, how can what I provide help you answer the questions that's going on in your head, because you're on a journey for a solution. And people always forget these prospects, and you and I are prospects for other things as well. We're on a journey trying to find the answers. And they have two real questions and challenges going on in their head. There's a problem they have they don't want, and a result they want they don't have. If you're able to address them in any way, they're going to want to have a conversation with you and learn more. Once they start the conversation and you're able to communicate back with them, then there's the means for them to become a customer. So when I mentioned website, again, when people come to a website and it's just lots of writing or pictures about themselves, and the company can be fantastic. I'm doing something right now with a wedding planning company, and the ingredients are there. The events they've done are phenomenal. They have an influencer as part of their staff, but it's a lot of pretty pictures, a lot of pictures of them, and doesn't do enough to talk about the experiences of how you would feel if your event worked as well as some of the others. Just a tweak and they would explode. But I grew up in New York, and in New York, one of the big battles was the newspaper battles, and everyone's about the headline. So you may grab a paper off the newsstand because the headline catches your eye. Same is true with the website. If someone's clicking and they have a number of plumbers they can look at, again, the plumber's example, they're going to find the one that grasps their attention and speaks to them. So if yours has a headline that addresses the problem they have they don't want, and a subheadline that just addresses the result they want but they don't have, more in a question form asking them, and then as some level of pitch and an offer to them, they may easily provide you with the means of speaking to them. And that really is the goal, of their name and their email address. So be able to get that information and create a drip campaign that goes along with it, because having someone who's interested is great, but everyone has so many other things that they're thinking about. There's a number of different touches you need for them to get them to actually respond and move forward with them. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's up to 20 that they need that little prod. And so having a drip campaign, adding phone calls into it, sending a text here and there, having a communication strategy as part of your marketing to create these things are very important. So it goes back to this, long story short, website is very key way that people either choose or do not choose to speak with you.
Now, let's use the wedding planner company as an example. Did they came to you, they felt that they weren't growing well, they felt that they need a better marketing presence when they talked to you? Is that what the objective was?
Marketing was part of the objective. There was a couple of other specific objectives that they had. But with them, it's just a little bit of a tweaking. They're very successful with word of mouth. They're extremely successful with relationship marketing, which means that they're in an industry where they have a lot of different vendors that they work with. If they're putting on a wedding, there's 12, 15, 20 vendors you could be working with. And the relationship they have with them, they are also resources for referrals. So one of the things I'm a big proponent of is joint ventures. And some people will do things just because they're very happy to pass on a recommendation for someone and hopefully business comes of it. Sometimes it can be contractual. And if you have the right vendor that could send you 10, 15 people and you're giving them $1,000 for each one that they do or something in back in trade for that, they're going to be even more encouraged to keep on sending you referrals that way. And a lot of it depends on what industry you're in. But in that one in particular, they're very successful in doing that. We did some tweaks to make sure that is keeps on flowing in the way it is, and they're on the way to really being. They're fairly new within this marketplace, a couple of years, and I believe that within the next year they could be the leader in the marketplace.
So let's tell me some of the questions that someone comes to you and they say, "Listen, I think I think what we do is really, really good. We have great satisfaction for our customers, but we're just not growing. We're just not growing enough, and we think it's we need to figure this marketing thing out. That's the problem." Okay, now I know you're going to want to know the industry, and let's just keep it generic. So we already talked about SMART. That would be a really good thing to implement, right? But what other things, what type of questions would you ask that person to uncover what they're kind of doing?
My first question always is, what is your why? I want to know why they're doing it before I know what they're doing. And now once I know, then then there's and they're not so contextual that they're really basic questions that I'm asking. I guess part of it is because I describe the conversation is the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's how that's my opening session with someone, because I want to know everything. I want to know what has worked, why has it worked, what has not worked, what did you think about and didn't do, what's your, let's talk, obviously we're talking budget and budget lines of what have you been spending, and in turn what kind of revenues you're getting from each of it. So there's this financial analysis that goes along with that as well. But I want to get a sense of the real history of the company, the history of the person involved. So what were they doing before they started the business? And because it's all personal. Everything you're doing is relationship based. And for me, my relationship right now with this individual that I'm working with is the most important thing, because it's a lot about building different strategy to make the revenue grow, but it's also building different strategy to make them grow and make them love their business, like the way they were excited about starting it. And it's about them finding the comfort zone that they're looking for. There are a lot of people who start a business because they didn't want to be in the rat race and they needed more vacation and time with the family and all that. And then they got into this business that they are in, and things are 5 times as worse, and they're not sleeping and they're losing their hair and they've gained 40 pounds. And life sucks. I don't want life to suck. I want them to love their business. I want to love themselves again. So it really is finding out what, in their mind, what has gone right and what has gone wrong and why has it gone wrong. And sometimes they'll be giving you an answer, but you'll be hearing more in that answer that's very clear. I remember one conversation clearly that every answer he gave me was pretty clear. He was a massive micromanager and drove everyone crazy.
Yep.
And in turn, their behaviors drove him crazy. And it was a vicious cycle that
How
had
did
to
you
be
tell
broken.
him? How did you tell him?
Bluntly,
Yeah.
I actually, with
And
that
I'm sure-
person, I have a relationship with him beforehand.
No.
And I told him bluntly, this is the biggest problem. And
Well, he knew it.
I said to myself, I'll sit in meetings and I'll take notes, and I'll come back and I'll give you notes and I'll give them notes.
Yeah, he knew it though, right?
No.
I felt like people know it and they know their weak spot, but it's really, really hard to address it.
He didn't know the extent.
Okay.
He knew that he was a diligent manager. He did not know the extent.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this
happens. That's why it's good to have a second set of eyes to come in.
Yeah, my opinion, surefire way not to grow your business is to be a micromanager. Surefire. You can get to a certain level, but after a while, it's a big problem. I mean, most of the successful business owners, and I know a lot of really very, very successful entrepreneurs, they learn how to delegate. They know where to put their time in that really is valuable. So it's a different conversation about marketing, then really certainly.
Yes.
Um, so we only have a couple of minutes left. If you really had to leave all our listeners with one really key thing that we haven't talked about already, in regards to measurable marketing to grow your business, what would you say?
I think because it's funny as you're saying it went back to one of the questions I said before. It goes back to really understanding your why and always and not losing sight of it, because that can really sometimes you're in the grind. Okay, I'm going to make this. It's like you're on it's fourth down, and it makes most sense to kick a field goal, but your head's like, I don't care. I'm going to get it over the goal line no matter what. And unfortunately, your track record is 9.5 out of 10 times you're stopped at the goal line, but you still keep pushing through the goal line because you forgot what the why was. The why at that moment was, I'm going to win, as opposed to, I'm trying to feed my family. I'm trying to get, I want us to move to a different area, and I need them to create a different lifestyle there. I want to be able to give charity out of the business, and I need to hit a certain revenue threshold so it's not hurting, so we can help in this process and do something. I find that it's very easy to forget the why because of the right now.
And I think you could separate the why that you might have for your personal life and the why for why the business exists. I think those are two different things. And I think, relating it back to marketing, you can't come up with a marketing message if you don't know your why. So, I'm going to be honest, Howard, you surprised me, and you were 100% right when you came back. And I said, when you came back with the question about, the things that you would ask your client first would be, what's your why? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Because if you're going to come up with a marketing campaign, the why is going to be the most powerful message throughout that marketing. It's going to drive your employees. It's going to drive you. It's going to drive your customers. It's going to drive your message, right? So you're 100% right. And all the way, and also I would say that a large majority of people that you probably asked that question to, they really don't have a clear understanding of their why. Is that accurate to say?
There's some.
Okay.
There's some that either don't, or never had one, or forgot what it was. But I think there's also the key of what you're learning about people while they're answering it. You're seeing that, like, they may be a very straight shooter and a very tough surface, and when you ask the why, and then the why is a very soft answer, you see different parts of their personality come out, which may make a whole different concept of how to market the business. So if you're marketing the business with generic photos of the business or business activity, and you find out you have an amazing personality, maybe you need to be the face of your campaigns, and that will change things. Because you look at some of these, everyone knows radio and TV commercials where you have a personal relationship with that person because they're on it. That's there for a reason, but not everyone can pull it off.
Yeah.
So you're going to learn some things when you're asking that question that you may not get from other answers and questions that go on in the conversation.
And I'll relate this back, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. But, I've had companies where I have really strong whys, and then other ones not as much, right? So with financing solutions, I have personally been through what it's like to deal with banks and to not have a line of credit, and, the value of having a line of credit. And so with financing solutions, which is one of the three companies I own now, I completely believe, and every business should have a line of credit, which is really our tagline, right? And so now, not only do I believe it, but I'm making sure I'm always communicating that with my staff. Listen, this is because they haven't been through it. They haven't had their own businesses. They don't know what it's like to worry about making payroll. And this is not self-serving. I'm just giving you this example. Sure. And so it's, so I'm constantly letting them know, listen, I can't tell you how many clients that we deal with are so happy that they got their line of credit in place because they didn't think, they thought it was a good idea. They got it in place early. And then now look, they're really, complimenting us on thanking us for providing that line of credit. And so, having a strong why just makes going to work easier. The decisions you make is better. The marketing campaigns is really powerful. So as far as a New Year's resolution goes, forget the smart for a second. Go back to your why, which is a perfect time of the year, really, to kind of go at it,
Absolutely.
right? Really, I always think before January 1st is the better time of year. But, anyway.
This week is still good.
Yeah. Do you have a why?
Of course I do. It has a lot to do with my family. There's a lot to
Yep.
do with the things that they enjoy doing. Like my kids go to sleepaway camp. It's been a very big relationship that my wife and I both have had with this camp in different ways. There's a lot of different programs for the future that they want to involve themselves in. So it's how do I make their lives better? How am I able to fulfill what they want to achieve and accomplish and just experience?
Yeah, I have something similar with my why as a outside of work, which is my parenting why, which I'll share with everybody because I think it's good. And my parenting why, I have a 22-year-old and I have a 13-year-old. My parenting why is to raise children that know what makes them happy, and are always striving for that happiness. So it's about building confident men, and that's my why. That's when I try to do those things, I try to give my kids the tools to understand what makes them happy and be confident in those type of things. So anyway, there's that noise in the background, unfortunately. Well, it was Howard. Is a good conversation. I kind of knew it was going to be. It's an interesting topic. I want to really thank Howard Wolpoff from Profit Masters Business Schools for coming on to today's podcast. If you like today's podcast, please feel free to share it with a friend and also subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. Please also give us a review if you felt that this podcast was really good. It's the way we get the word spread out on the podcasts. And if you are looking for a line of credit for your business, you can either call us at 862-207-4118 or visit our website at fscreditline.com. Howard, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
Best way to do that is reach me at my website, profitmasterbusinesssolutions.com. There'll be 3 S's in the middle. That's the way you've done it right. And or you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm always very active there. Howard Wolpoff. That's WOLP as in Peter, OF as in Frank, F as in Frank.
Yeah, and I apologize to our listeners for the noise in the background today. Howard, it was a great podcast. I want to wish you, Howard, you and all our listeners a happy New Year as well.
Yes, happy New Year to everyone. A very happy and healthy and prosperous New Year.
Yeah, so I'm gonna wrap this up by just saying our last thought. I would walk away with I think the most important thing we got out of today is figure out your why. I think Howard and I talked a lot about that. I know that it started off with saying the SMART thing is to do the SMART acronym, but I think starting off with the why is probably one of the most important things. The last thing I'll say, since the beginning of the new year, entrepreneurship is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so you need to take really, really, really good care of yourself every day and every night. You should be thinking about, what do I need to do the next day to make sure that I'm at my best? And that usually involves good sleep, a good diet, and exercise. That should be the first thing that you're thinking about every single day, because you are no good to your team, you're no good to your company, you're no good to yourself, and you're no good to your family if you are not healthy. And I think the older that we get, we all realize how important health is. Everybody have a great day, and Happy New Year to everybody.